Rita Venturelli for her hospitality. This evening I also have another privilege of sitting here next to Luca Verdone, who comes from let's say aristocracy of royalty of Italian cinema. Is everyone that studied cinema in Italy has to be grateful to his father that started the field of film studies in Italy, Mario Verdone, and everybody in Italy knows his brother Carlo, that gave us many good times as a comedian and as a director, and everybody knows Luca for his work in between these two worlds. He was sort of a synthesis between the academics of his father and the filmmaking of his brother. So he probably couldn't decide which of the two he wanted to be, so he decided to be both. Both a film historian, an academic, and a very thoughtful researcher about our legacy and history of cinema, and also a director, also a successful director. And so this is a great opportunity. But tonight we are here not just to talk about Luca, but to talk about one of the most important film directors of Italian cinema, if not of all time, that is Michelangelo Antonioni. It is the subject of documentary that we are about to see. And, so my first question is obviously to Luca. We know from your biography that you were close, that your family was close to lots of great directors, but what was your personal relationship with Michelangelo Antonioni, if there was one, not just with his work, but also with him as a person?
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for attending this screening, to all of you, and thank you very much to watch my work devoted to Michelangelo Antonioni. And first I have to thank very much my friend Rita Venturelli, who was always a great supporter of the Italian cinema in the world. And so I'm very happy to be here, thanks to her and to you for attending. And now I answer to your question. Well, I've met Antonioni first time in my life when my father was the director of the Cineteca, National Cineteca in Centro Sperimentale in Rome. It was an important archive of movies that stored lots of movies from all over the world. And I met him in the 70s for the first time when he gave some lectures at the Experimental Center of Cinematography about his work and his job and his personal ideas about the cinema. And I was suddenly intrigued by his work and suddenly was attracted. I was very attracted by his personality, very deep personality, and confidence of his chances and confidence of his capabilities to represent, to describe the alienation of the world in which we all live, in which all live. And I was very attracted by his ideas, and I was very touched by his sensibility, which was he was a man very silent. He didn't speak a lot. Few words to describe some scenes, to describe some relationship between the human beings. That struck my imagination. And the second time I've met him in the 80s when he was shooting Identification of a Woman, And I went to visit him in the set while the shootings, and I was attracted by his way of shooting the movies and his deep capability to represent a world with the spaces and the pace and the rhythms that belongs only to him, and that's struck my imagination very much. And my last meeting with him, it was for showing the movie that I made to him, devoted to him, and he was without the words, because he had a stroke, very strong, and so he couldn't express himself. But he looked at my eyes and he kissed me and gave me communicated all this satisfaction for what I did about him. So that is a souvenir very important for me and for my life.
And what I would also like to ask you is that you have had the privilege of seeing Antonioni at work, and you met him in the 70s, and what do you think is the impact of Antonioni as a filmmaker, his style, to contemporary cinema, and what would be, and what do you think time has been gentle to his work? Or do you think that because you used the word alienation, which we agree on, but it is obviously something that really belongs in that time in Italy, the 60s, the economic boom, and all of a sudden Italy has to decide between being a capitalistic society and so I wonder what is left of his legacy as a filmmaker. If you think that his films stand the test of time.
I agree totally with you. He reflected in his movies the environment he lived and the characters he attended and got in touch. He reflects, Antonioni's movies reflects very well the scenes of the 70s, but also the 80s very well. I think that the images Antonioni's movies are the mirror of the anxiety and of the alienation and the mirror of the difficulties in which the modern mankind lives his world.
And do you think he had his stroke in the mid-80s? And but I always wonder what he could have been, what he could have done by the end of his career, and what he would have made of Italy in the 80s and Italy in the 90s, or if he would have kept making films. And somehow, as we discussed earlier, he kept making them by proxy with somebody else directing his work. And do you think he would have kept being curious about?
He never lost his curiosity about life. He met Enrica Fico, his wife. It was a strong support on all his life, along all his life, and with the help and the support of Enrica, he kept on being curious and kept on being hungry to human beings, and he kept on being also attracted by the feelings of the human beings, and overall the love. He was in the last times of his life, he was very attracted by issues about love, about how two peoples, a a man fall in love with each other, and he digged these issues very deeply.
But I also think that as a filmmaker, I mean, he famously experimented with the first use of digital images in the early 80s.
This was the first one.
He was really
in the 70s.
a forerunner, right?
Oberwald.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Oberwald.
Oberwald.
So. Yeah. So I wonder what he could have done if he were still active at the beginning of the real digital age for filmmaking. So probably would have made some very experimental films later in his career.
He was the first one in using that for the TV set Rai.
Exactly. He made this hybrid film using this at the time highly technological.
Yes.
You watch it now, you think like, oh wow.
Inquiring the feelings with the colors.
And
inquiring the feelings and inquiring to express the feelings through the colors.
Luca, just one curiosity before we leave the audience to the documentary, but we will be available after the screening if you have any questions for us.
I'm ready to answer.
Especially for Luca, of course, because but do you remember the first time you saw an Antonioni film in a movie theater? What was it?
No, when I went to visit him during the shootings of Identification of a Woman, he was shooting in external scenes.
No, but I mean the first film that you saw in the cinema as a spectator when you were young. The first one that you've seen.
Well, I prefer to answer to this question
as you
later,
after
the movie.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you want to know which one is the first Antonioni film you saw, we leave some suspense, and you can ask him later.
Yes, I'm ready.
Once again,
after the screening.
After the screening. But once again, thank you very much for your presence, and we keep
I can anticipate. I can anticipate. My preferred.
Yes.
My favorite. My favorite. Is Blow Up.
Okay. So you were.
We can have a debate about Blow Up, that is really a masterpiece of all the times.
Okay. So the film is about 50 minutes long. We wait for you afterwards with your questions, your curiosities. Thank you, Luca. It was a great pleasure having you here in Amsterdam tonight.
It's my pleasure to speak with you.
Thanks.
And this audience, magnificent audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gli spazi metafisici dei cortili e dei palazzi rinascimentali di Ferrara, che risaltano per la straordinaria eleganza delle forme, sono state le prime immagini che hanno accompagnato in gioventù Michelangelo Antonioni nella sua formazione figurativa di artista e di autore cinematografico. I colori e le forme dei suoi collage e dei suoi dipinti riportano probabilmente sulla tela le tracce di quelle impressioni astratte.
Durante i silenzi si possono dire tante cose, le immagini hanno una loro forza, parlano da sé. Secondo me il cinema è tutto da rifare, anche la convenzione per esempio del dialogo risolto con il solito campo e controcampo. Non è mica vero che guardandosi in faccia si riesce a capire l'interlocutore. Molto spesso per capire uno deve guardare nel vuoto, deve isolare il proprio pensiero.
Michelangelo Antonioni è nato a Ferrara il 29 settembre 1912 da una famiglia della media borghesia.
È ferrarese anche nella nobiltà d'animo, nella sua chiarezza, nella sua pulizia, nella sua precisione, cosa che è dei ferraresi.
Se n'è andato a Roma quasi subito, quindi diciamo che ha vissuto gli anni della giovinezza a Ferrara, quindi che ha respirato sicuramente quest'aria di provincia nel migliore dei modi.
Il paesaggio immobile e metafisico delle valli padane, delimitate all'orizzonte dalla regolarità del loro profilo, è lo sfondo su cui Michelangelo Antonioni ha rivolto la sua attenzione per il suo primo documentario, Gente del Po, realizzato tra il 1943 e il 1947. Antonioni visse questa esperienza nello stesso periodo in cui Luchino Visconti, sulla riva opposta alla sua, girava Ossessione.
Sai, d'ora in poi dovrai usarmi dei riguardi speciali. Ho sentito dire di certe donne che hanno passato dei guai perché si strapazzavano. Ma a me non può accadere nulla, vero? Se no, perché sentirei i miei seni diventare ogni giorno più grossi? Non è vero, Gino?
C'era da parte di Michelangelo e a proposito di Visconti, una forte passione per Ossessione, per il primo film, anche La terra trema, ma devo dire per Ossessione, per il primo film di Visconti.
L'atmosfera rarefatta del Po, sospesa nel tempo, nel documentario di Antonioni acquista nuovi valori espressivi quando appare l'elemento umano, proposto con i suoi valori morali e psicologici.
Verso la fine del suo corso, dopo aver raccolto tutta l'acqua che scende dalle Alpi e dagli Appennini, il Po diventa navigabile. Sono convogli di barconi dal fondo piatto, carichi dei prodotti agricoli della regione. Non è una navigazione facile, ci vuol gente invecchiata sul Po. Sui barconi essi hanno la loro casa. Il barcone è il lavoro, la casa, gli affetti. Su e giù per il grande fiume, tra la riva emiliana e quella veneta, della casa che cammina verso il mare.
Allora eravamo divisi nel centro sperimentale tra i desichiani, ladri di biciclette, e i viscontiani, la terra trema. Ecco, allora un po' questo. E Michelangelo anche lui era molto viscontiano.
Nettezza urbana, del 1948, contiene già alcuni aspetti significativi del linguaggio di Antonioni. La vita degli spazzini di Roma è proposta con immagini in cui la ricerca dei valori espressivi tende a uno stile personale, lontano dai modelli della poetica del neorealismo.
Nel corso di una giornata, molta gente, molte cose e lavori si sfiorano che sembrano consueti e noti, e di cui si sa invece ben poco. Quel poco soltanto che sta a diretto contatto con gli interessi e la vita di ciascuno di noi. Tutto il resto ci è estraneo. Chi siano e come vivono gli spazzini, questi umili e taciturni lavoratori che nessuno degna di uno sguardo, di una parola, sembra non ci riguardi. Gli spazzini fanno parte della città come qualcosa di inanimato, eppure nessuno più di loro partecipa alla vita cittadina. Con quali occhi la vedranno? Il loro lavoro è incominciato da un pezzo, quando la città si sveglia.
I documentari di Antonioni sono tra le opere più importanti non solo per lui, ma all'interno del cinema italiano.
what was the film, the first film of Antonioni that you have seen in your life? Now we want to know.
I will tell you the truth. The first film I saw in Antonioni's, for the full length duration, it blew up. I was 14.
Yes.
15. Yes.
So
yes, I did it. I shot these documentaries in 2005. 2005, 1 year before the death of Michelangelo.
And I'm afraid that it is quite the historical document. If you see it now, I sort of realize that unfortunately also a lot of people in the documentary are gone now.
Yes.
I saw Carlo Di Palma,
yes,
and Tonino Guerra, and so you were able to capture this moment where they were all there and they could all remember. And
yes, now I perceive also that this is historical documents, because just because some people is gone, it's become something else.
Yes.
Since I shot
it feels to me like it is a time capsule where you captured this moment of remembering, and it was also possibly the last moment available, which everybody was there to talk about Michelangelo.
Yes.
And one thing that was also that we see many images of Monica Vitti.
Yes.
I also wanted to ask you about
She's
Monica.
very ill. Yeah. She's very ill. She lives in a hospital. He had not Parkinson, Alzheimer. So it's a long time she's ill.
Yeah. But I'm sure that
time, and she doesn't appear since 10 years.
But I'm sure that you met her before.
Yes.
Do you also have memories of Monica?
Yes. Yes, I met her several times. One reason it was for his very narrow, very restricted relationship with the wife of Sergio Leone, Carlo Leone. I've met her when she was playing cards with her at Sergio Leone's house, and I attended these games, and I got much fun.
Yeah, because Monica was famous for playing cards. Very passionate about games.
Yes. The playing cards was main attractions.
Yeah, of her life. Yes. Did anyone say no? Did anyone that you tried to interview say no?
Nobody. Everybody was so happy to release their interview, and everybody was collaborative.
It's interesting because my professor at university, Giorgio Tinazzi, was one of the almost famous biographers of Antonioni, and we had Carlo Di Palma many times in classes, and also Antonio Guerra, very fond memories of him. And but Antonioni had already suffered a stroke, and we always said to our professor, it would be great if you could also invite Antonioni. And he said, you probably wouldn't like him, he would say to us, because he can be very harsh.
Well, I don't think so.
I like what David Hemming said in the film, that he said
it's
that
very charming. It's a pet. It's something a puppy.
A puppy dog.
It's a puppy dog. Because it was warm and tender, and very affectionate ways of approaching people. He's a very kind man, and cheerful. Even if he was always silent and they didn't speak a lot, few words, but very meaning, but very significant.
since you had the privilege of being close to him in a way, I always wondered, Antonioni was famously, I mean, he was in a couple with Monica Vitti for a long time.
Yes.
And of course he also met this at the time, very young girl, Enrica Fico, his last wife. And I always wondered, so it seemed to me like I would say, successful when it came to relationships. So where did this idea of lack of communication between men and women came from? Was it something
just at that time, when he was in a relationship with Monica, he has maturated this concept of the incommunicability between human relationships. And I think that it dates back at the 60s, but it was something that was arranged since the 50s, the last years of the 50s.
Yeah. Because if you see Leone,
starting off from the grido.
Yeah. But you know, what I meant is that it doesn't seem autobiographical.
Yes.
You know, so it was something that he observed in society.
Yes.
Do you think that he came from that?
Yes, just because it was observed in society, from the closest point of view, and just because he was affected by the contemporary arts developments, and he was looking not only to the movies, but he was looking a lot to the paintings. He was looking at the modern art.
The Chirico,
he was a really passionate fan of the Jackson Pollock. He really loved Jackson Pollock and really loved American art, and he also loved very much Karl Appel. Karl Appel is an important artist, very great. The greatest, one of the greatest in Europe.
And the other thing that comes out very well from your documentary is sort of the distance that was there when this group of Italian people would go to London or go to the United States to make a film. At the time it was a big deal.
Yes.
Because like London in 1965 was...
The swinging London.
Yeah, was somewhere completely different than Italian society. So you had to go there and live there for a year to get inspiration. But I'm sure that this group of people from Ferrara, you know, Antonioni and Antonio arrived there. There was like the landing of a spaceship, you know, the aliens. So
to experimenting. Experimenting.
And nowadays, you know,
new ways of life.
Now we go to London, you know.
There is another artist I forgot to tell you that he loved a lot. It was Mark Rothko.
Yes. You see that our audience is very well prepared in contemporary arts. You came
to modern art.
You came to
it's at the base of a filmmaker. This is the modern art.
So, Luca, once again, thank you very much for bringing us this work of yours. It made us remember a great season of Italian cinema, first of all, and remember a great master. But let me also just add, it gave us the opportunity to meet a very passionate filmmaker as well that we can also call a friend right now. So thank you, Luca.
Thank you to
thank you very much.